Hello and welcome to this recording of the metrical Dinnshenchas with myself, Laura O'Brien. We are working from Edward Gwyn's translation. For full details on the source material and what it's all about, head back to the first video, the introduction video in this playlist, and you will figure all that out through that video. And there's links to everything that we are reading from below. Okay, and various other useful bits and pieces. So please do go and follow them. So we are on the third Tara poem here today, Chever 3. Chever, noblest of hills, under which Aaron of the furrows, the lofty city of Cormac, son of Art, son of mighty Con of the 100 fights. Cormac, constant was his prosperity. He was sage, he was poet, he was prince. He was a true judge of the men of Fina. He was a friend, he was a comrade. Cormac, who gained 50 fights, disseminated the Psalter of Chever. In this Psalter there is all the best we have of history. In this Psalter that tells of 7 warlike high kings of Erin, 5 kings of the provinces it makes, the king of Erin and her viceroy. In it is set down on every hand what is the right of every king of a province, what is the right of the king of Chever eastward from the king of every songful province. The correlation, the synchronizing of every man, of each king one with another together, the delimitation of every province marked by a stone rick from the foot to the full barony. Baronies 30 in number it finds in the baronies of each province. In each province of them there are 7 noble score of chief fortresses. Cormac knew the number, being king. He made the circuit of Erin thrice. He brought away a hostage for every walled town, and showed them in Chever. Duma Nagil, purity of palms, is called from the hostages Cormac brought. And to Cormac was revealed in their house every marvel that is in Chever. There was revealed to Fergus as it is, the place in which is Fergus's cross. The slope of the chariots marks the limits between it and the crooked trenches. The crooked trenches where they slew the maidens, the crooked trenches of the crooked dealings, west from Rathgrania below. They remain free from decay, both of them. Eastward from Rathgrania in the glen is the marsh of strong Chever. East of the marsh there are Rathnessa and Rathconcor. The measure of the head of grim Cuchulainn lies northeast from Rathconcor. The dimension of his shield under its boss is wonderful and huge. The grave of Mal and Mijna is in Chever since their slaying. Thence is their grave and their sepulchre, on account of the head they boasted. Let us consider too the hall of the heroes, which is called the palace of vain women. The house of the warriors, it was no mean hall, with 14 doors. The mound of the women after their betrayal was hard by the upper structure. South of it are the Dal and the Durka. They are bowed down, both alike. Dal is southwest of Sad Durka. From them was called Duma Dal Badra. Each of them killed the other in fighting over their alms. The dwarf came to his sorrow to interpose between them. So they killed the dwarf under their feet through their dimness of sight. Westward from the grave of this dwarf are Mael, Bloch, and Blichta. Foolish their wisdom. Over them are the 3 stones that the prince of Great Macha flung. The secret rampart of the 3 whispers is between the hall and the hero's well. The stone of the warriors is east of the road, over against the Rath of the Synod. The Rath of the Synod's noble excellence lies north of the precinct of Chever. Eastward from the Rath beside the stone is the house whence Banich escaped. The Synod of Patrick was at the noble Rath. The Synod of Brendan and of Ruadán, the synod of Adamnan thereafter, assembled to curse Irghalach. Below from the wrath of the kings, it is not false, are the grave of Cu, the grave of Kehen, the hill of the ox, and east of the wrath is the grave of Main, son of Monremar. There remains south of the wrath of the king, the wrath of Lyra and his keep, and his grave on the floor of his keep. The righteous one of the Lord overcame him. Behold the noble house of Marisha, chief for beauty in Erin. It is high to the west, very high to the north, level eastward of it. It was a triumph of the mason. It is there was situated the house, on the margin of Nevnoch, that this house away across Meath were scattered the houses of Chever. Chever, whence Chever Breg is named, rampart of Cha, wife of the son of Melid. Nevnoch is east of it, a stream through the glen on which Cormac set the first mill. Kiernach, handmaid of the upright Cormac, used to feed from her kern many hundreds. 10 measures a day she had to grind. It was no task for an idler. The noble king came upon her at her task, all alone in her house, and got her with child privily. Presently she was unable for heavy grinding. Thereupon the grandson of Conn took pity on her. He brought a millwright over the wide sea. The first mill of Cormac MacArt was a help to Kiernach. The caprock of Cormac is in the wrath of the kings. Eastward from the wrath of the kings, that is the truth of it, is the well of the numbering of the clans, which is called by the 3 names, Leagdal, Dove, Dirv, Tualinja, and Tipra Bofina. 3 names to designate it, to make known the well of Chever. Another spring, mighty force, which flows southwest from Chever. Calf is its name, though it never sucked a cow. Cormac's kitchen is on its margin. Apologies. There rise north of Chever, Adlic and Diadlic of the host. 2 springs flow diverse thence, down to the cairn of the boys. Between the 2 cairns of the lads is the Dieshel of Tever, south of Crinna, a sword which brings luck before going to death, where men used to make a turn right-hand wise. North of the great hill is the wrath of Colman, the brown Dovnan, the grave of Caelcu under a like heap of stones, lies northeast from the hall of the women of Chever. Caelcu, son of Lorn, son of Rua, son of Cormac Cass, who loved victory, was the first hostage out of the men of Munster. From him descend the princes of Ross Tevrach. The house of Chever, round which is the wrath. From it was given to each his due. Honour still continues to such as them at the courts of kings and princes. King and chief of the poets, sage, farmer, they received their due. Couches that torches burn not, the ties and the chine stakes. Leach and Spencer, stout smith, steward, portly butler, the heads of the beasts to all of them, in the house of the yellow-haired king. Engraver, famed architect, shield maker, and keen soldier, in the king's house they drank a cup. This was their proper due, a fist. Jester, chess player, sprawling buffoon, piper, cheating juggler, the shank was their share of meat in truth, when they came into the king's house. The shins were the share of the noble musician, the flute player and rhymester both, the horn blower, the piper, both consumed the broken meats. A charge on the Prince of Meath, where the cobblers and comb makers, the dew of the strong, skilled folk, was the fat underside of the shoulder. The backs, the chines in every dwelling were given to druids and doorkeepers. The Uruskla belonged without question to the maidens, after serving the house of Tara. Columkill, who used to redeem captives, broke the battle against Dirmage. Before he went away oversea, the lords of Chever gave him obedience. The faith of Christ who suffered in the flesh was brought all strength to naught. Because of the sorrow of the people of God in its house, he gave not protection to Chever. So apparently the Uruskla is some part of a carcass, exact meaning uncertain. See Hermathena 48:150. There's a lot there. Cormac MacArt and Con of the 100 Battles or Con of the 100 Fights would be names that would be quite commonly known to anybody who's read stories. I suppose they come up. Likewise, Concor and a few other names that are brought here, but a lot of this is really laying out the geography around Tara. So when you go to Tara today, you can actually still come across many of these places. The Nevnock, the Crooked Trenches are there, Rathgrania, like you can, not all of them, but a lot of them would be known as just from the description really here and from putting pieces together. So yeah, and then we move into all the different people within the house and what their due is. So you might have heard of something called the champions portion or the heroes portion. Well, this is laying out what portions of meat would be due to various other roles and functions in the house, in a royal household, I suppose, or a high status household. So that's an interesting little slice of the history too. Okay, so we're going to leave that one there. That was poem 3 of Tara or Chever. And we still do have 2 more Tara poems. Gets a lot of attention, does Tara. And we will come back to that the next day. So please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss a video. And give the video a like, a share, a comment if you're enjoying it. And apologies for me stumbling over the odd little bits and pieces. It's harder than you think reading it with no mistakes. And I tend to just go through and what you see is what you get as far as I'm concerned. So we're not going to be messing around with much editing or anything like that. It's all real and raw around here at the Irish Pagan School. So Gur Mágat for your time and hopefully it's useful to you. Slán go fóill, and I will see you in the next video.